I pulled a trigger on my own life that rainy Tuesday in the back room of Dad's auto shop. Not with a gun, but with a confession that tasted like battery acid. It was me, I told the cops, my voice cracking like the thunder outside, while Jax, my cousin, the golden boy with his Ivy League smirk, leaned against the oil-stained workbench, eyes wide with fake surprise. Dad just stood there in the doorway, his grease-blackened hands limp at his sides, watching as Jax nodded along like he was the victim, sealing my fate with a single, damning lie that echoed louder than the sirens pulling up to the curb. You think betrayal is a knife in the back? Nah. It's a slow poison. The kind that lets you sip it willingly because you love the taste at first. Growing up in the shadow of Chicago's South Side, where the L train rattles like God's own migraine and every corner store sells dreams wrapped in lottery tickets, family was our religion. Dad built Ramirez Auto from nothing after Mom OD'd on fentanyl when I was 10, Nova Ramirez, the girl who fixed transmissions before she could drive one. Jax? He slithered in at 16, orphaned by his folks' car wreck on I-94. And Dad took him under his wing like a stray pit bull. Blood's thicker than oil. Kid, Dad would grunt, handing Jax the keys to the office while I scrubbed parts in the pit. By 25, I was running the books, juggling invoices like a circus act to keep us afloat amid the endless winters and the gangs circling like vultures. Jax? He charmed suppliers, schmoozed at trade shows in his knockoff Armani, whispering sweet nothings about expansion. We're family, Nova, he'd say, clapping my shoulder too hard, his cologne cutting through the exhaust fumes. You handle the dirt, I'll handle the shine. I believed him. Hell, I covered for him the first time he skimmed $5,000 from a parts deal, funneled to some bookie's poker game in Bridgeport. It was a loan, he begged, tears in his eyes that mirrored the ones I'd shed at Mom's grave. So I fudged the ledger, called it a vendor error, and took the heat from Dad's suspicious glare. Won't happen again, I promised Jax, and he swore on his dead parents' souls. But souls don't mean shit when the house always wins. 6 months later, the skim turned to a flood. Jax got hooked on the high life, coke fuel nights at the Violet Hour, leasing a Beamer he couldn't afford, dating influencers who posted our shop like it was a startup pitch. I found the discrepancies buried in the QuickBooks, 80,000 gone, siphoned through ghost accounts to offshore apps. My hands shook as I printed the reports, the printer's whine drowning out the shop's AC hum. Confront him? I did. In the break room over lukewarm coffee from the Greek joint down the block. This ends now, Jax. We're telling Dad. His face twisted, not fear, but calculation. Like a chess master spotting your amateur blunder. You tell him, and it's both our asses. But think, Nova, Dad's retiring soon. You want him keeling over from a stroke? Or me? The face of the business, rotting in Cook County. He leaned in, breath minty with deceit. Let me fix it. One big score, a parts flip with a crew from Pilsen. Double or nothing. Against every gut punch screaming no. I nodded. Family, right? Blood thicker than oil. I wired the last of our line of credit, signed off on the shipment that was just vaporware, and prayed to whatever South Side saint watches over fools. The score bombed. Harder than the '08 crash that shuttered half the shops on Halstead. The crew ghosted. The money vanished. And the feds came knocking, IRS first, then the state's attorney, sniffing embezzlement like bloodhounds on a trail. Jax played it perfect, the concerned cousin, filing the tip anonymously from a burner app. I suspected.
But
Family, he told the agents, voice breaking on cue. They hauled me in, cuffs cold against my wrists, past Dad's stunned face in the shop's plate glass window. Nova? What the hell? He rasped. But Jax was already there, arm around his shoulders, murmuring condolences like a funeral director. The humiliation peaked in that fluorescent-lit interrogation room, the kind you see in every cop show but feels like a bad acid trip in real life. Detective Ruiz, a stocky guy with a bear's lanyard and eyes like chipped flint, slid the confession form across the scarred table. Sign it, Ramirez. Makes it easier on everyone. Jax sat in the corner, witnessing for the state. His testimony a masterpiece of half-truths. How I'd grown resentful after Mom's death. How I'd confided in him about cooking the books to get back at the old man. Lies so slick they could have greased the L-tracks. I stared at Dad, escorted in as character witness. His flannel shirt rumpled, face carved deeper than the Chicago River.
he didn't speak.
Didn't defend. Just watched, silent as the grave, as Jax painted me the villain in our family saga. Why?
Nova.
Dad finally whispered when they let him approach the glass during holding. His voice cracked, not with anger, but something worse, disappointment, the kind that hollows you out like a rusted chassis. After everything, I pressed my palm to the plexiglass, words choking in my throat. The truth? That I'd shielded Jax twice over, buried his sins in my loyalty, it would have shattered Dad. Confirmed every fear he'd buried since Mom's overdose, that blood turns toxic under pressure. So I swallowed it. I'm sorry.
Dad. I
got lost. Jax hovered behind him, eyes gleaming with victory, mouthing good girl when Dad turned away. Jail was a blur of concrete and regret. 90 days in county for cooperation, but it felt like eternity. Women like me, tattooed grease monkeys with attitudes, don't last pretty. I learned to spot the snitches, trade commissary for silence, and plot in the dark hours when the guard's snores echoed off cinder blocks. Revenge isn't a spark, it's a slow burn, fed by every whispered bitch in the yard. Every letter from Dad that arrived scented with WD-40, but laced with distance. Jax is holding things down. Get straight, kid. Holding things down? That snake was liquidating assets, courting buyers for the shop, turning our legacy into his nest egg. Out on parole, I slunk back to the city like a stray, crashing in a Logan Square walk-up with peeling wallpaper and roaches that partied harder than Wrigleyville on game night. Dad wouldn't see me. Too raw, he said through a mutual mechanic. Jax? He thrived, posting LinkedIn flexes about pivoting the family biz, his feed a parade of craft IPAs and skyline selfies. But I had the ledgers, printed backups I'd stashed in a safety deposit box under Mom's maiden name. And I had time. Time to hack together a plan from dive bar napkins and sleepless Uber shifts, delivering parts to shops that still trusted the Ramirez name. First move, infiltrate. I dyed my hair blacker than motor oil, got a gig at a rival shop in Humboldt Park, close enough to watch Jax's empire crumble from afar. He flipped sides faster than a politician at a fundraiser, charming Dad one day, undercutting suppliers the next. But his Achilles? Arrogance. He started dating Lena, Dad's old flame's daughter, a paralegal with access to the DA's underbelly. Marrying up, he bragged at a family barbecue. I crashed uninvited, Dad's eyes flicking away as Jax draped an arm around her. The humiliation burned fresh, toasts to new beginnings, my empty chair the punchline. That night, Rain hammering the L like Judgment Day. I cornered him in the alley behind the shop. You owe me
Jax.
$80K. Plus interest. He laughed, breath fogging in the chill. Oh, you confessed. Prima. Own it. But I saw the flicker of fear buried under that veneered smile.
Tell Dad.
And you're the snitch. But help me flip a deal. Real this time, and we're square. He paused, rain dripping from his perfect haircut. What's in it for me?
Greed.
Thy name is cousin. I dangled a phantom investor. A ghost from Pilsen with connections. Hook.
Line.
Sinker. We met in seedy motels off Cicero, plotting like Bonnie and Clyde on bad acid. Jax bit hard, wiring seed money from the shop's slush fund. Blind to the trail I left in blockchain crumbs. Dad stayed silent, buried in his recliner with Fox News drone and a fifth of Old Forester, emerging only for chemo appointments, prostate cancer. Stage 3. The kind that creeps like rust. Focus on healing. Pop, Jax cooed, while I lurked in shadows, gathering ammo, texts, transfers, a recorded plea where Jax admitted the original skim for the family. The plan crystallized over takeout lo mein in my shoebox apartment, expose him at the shop's legacy sale, where he'd auction Dad's life's work to yuppies flipping it into a hipster garage. I'd hack the projector, simple script from a dark web forum, splashing his confessions across the screen mid-toast. Controversial? Hell yes. Dad would see the truth. But so would the buyers. The press sniffing small biz drama. Jax ruined?
Check. But me?
I'd be the whistleblower who tanked the family name. The daughter who waited too long. Split sides already forming in my mirror, hero or vulture. As the sale loomed, tension coiled like a bad serpentine belt. Jax grew paranoid, flipping from ally to accuser. You setting me up? Nova? After I gave you a shot? I played cool. But inside, the darkness whispered alternatives, poison in his beamer's brake fluid. Anonymous tip to Lena about his side chicks.
No.
I told the reflection.
Clean.
Calculated. American dream revenge. Justice with a side of schadenfreude. But on the eve, Dad called. First time in months. Heard you're around.
Come by.
We need to talk. His voice. Gravel over glass. Heart slamming. I drove the old Impala through puddles pooling like accusations. The city lights blurring into a neon requiem. What truth did he know? And whose side would silence pick this time? Pulling into the shop's lot that midnight. The Impala's headlights sliced through the downpour like accusations, illuminating Dad's silhouette in the bay door, frail under the fluorescent buzz. A ghost in his oil-stained overalls. Nova, he said. No hug. Just a nod that carried the weight of 10 lost years. Get in here before you drown. We huddled in the office. The air thick with stale coffee and the faint tang of chemo sweat. Paper stacked like Jenga blocks on the desk Jax once ruled. He poured us shots from a flask etched with Mom's initials, tequila. The cheap kind that burns holy. Jax says you're stirring shit. That true? I laughed, bitter as the swallow. Stirring?
Pop.
He's the one who. Words jammed. How do you unravel a decade of lies without pulling the thread that unravels you? Instead, I slid the folder across, printouts. Timestamps. Jax's voice grainy on my phone recorder, admitting the fraud like a confessional booth sinner. Dad's eyes, cloudy with meds. Scan the pages, fingers trembling like they used to on a loose carburetor. Silence stretched, broken only by the rain's tattoo on the tin roof. Why'd you cover for him?
Kid?
Back then, the question hit like a torque wrench to the gut. Flashback. Me at 18. Forging Dad's signature on a bank slip to bail Jax out of juvie for boosting a joyride from a Cicero dealer. Family, I'd muttered, echoing his mantra. Now, because you did. Took him in like your own. Thought it'd make us whole. He winced, rubbing his temples.
Whole.
After your ma. I was drowning. Nova. Jax was a life raft. But this? He tapped the folder. This is poison. For the first time. Alliance flickered, not full-throated, but a crack in the dam. The sale's tomorrow. You gonna stop it? My cue. With your help.
Yeah. Testify.
Tell them what you know. Dad's face crumpled. The fighter's mask slipping.
Can't.
Doctor's orders, no stress. And Jax. He's got Lena's firm handling the paperwork. Clean.
Clean.
The word curdled. Jax had flipped again, lawyering up with insider muscle, turning betrayal into bulletproof vest. But Dad's eyes held a spark. Do what you gotta. Just. Don't lose yourself. Lose myself? Too late for that. As I left, he pressed the flask into my hand. For strength. And remember, blood washes, but oil stains. Sleep evaded me that night, the walk-up's walls closing like a vice. I paced, scripting the hack on my laptop, a firewalled beast bought off a Ukrainian dropship, uploading Jax's dirtiest texts to a hidden server. Controversial decisions loomed, leaked to the Tribune anonymously, torched the sale and Jax's rep. But risk dragging Dad's cancer into the headlines? Or go nuclear, frame Jax for the Pilsen ghost deal? Plant evidence in his Beamer's glove box? The darkness tempted, whispering that mercy's for suckers, that America's underbelly rewards the ruthless. By dawn, bags under my eyes deeper than the shop's sump pit. I'd chosen hybrid, expose at the event, but see doubts with whispers to Lena first. Divide and conquer. Chicago style. The legacy sale buzzed like a hive on steroids, yuppie bros in Patagonia vests sipping IPAs from food trucks, snapping pics of the vintage Chevy's Dad restored by hand. Jax held court near the auction block, Sue crisp as a fresh bill, Lena on his arm in a sheath dress that screamed ambition. Folks, he boomed into the mic, voice oiled with charisma. Ramirez Auto isn't dying, it's evolving. Bid high, dream big. Laughter rippled. Dad sat front row, pale as primer, nodding weakly. I lurked bayside, thumb hovering over my phone's remote trigger, heart jackhammering against ribs. Then, the flip. Lena pulled Jax aside. Her whisper sharp. I'd tipped her hours earlier via a spoofed email. Screenshots of his Tinder escapades attached. His face drained, storming toward the projector rig where the AV kid fiddled with cables. Who the fuck sent that? He hissed, spotting me in the shadows. You? After our deal? Our deal, his greed-fueled parachute I'd rigged to snap. He lunged, not violent, but shoving me against a toolbox, tools clattering like accusations. I'll bury you. Nova. Tell him you hacked the whole thing, parole violation. Straight back to county. Dad rose then, slow as resurrection, staff in hand. Enough.
Boy.
Silence fell, the crowd murmuring like a Greek chorus. Jax wheeled, charm fracturing. Uncle Ray, she's lying, always has. Since we were kids.
Kids.
The word ignited me. I hit send. The projector flickered. Jax's voice booming. Yeah. I skimmed it for the family.
Right?
Nova covered. Poor sap. Gasps rippled. Phones whipped out. Liv tweeting the implosion. Lena recoiled, dialing her firm's emergency line. Jax's eyes bulged. Betrayal's mirror to mine. You recorded me? You bitch. Chaos erupted. American democracy in microcosm, sides splitting like fault lines. Buyers bailed. Checks bouncing unspoken. A few diehards clapped. Hailing whistleblower grit. Dad gripped the mic. Voice raspy but iron. Sails off.
This
is Ramirez blood. Messy, but ours. Jax bolted for the Beamer. Tires squealing into the drizzle. But not before I slipped a USB into his pocket. Insurance. The full ledger. Tagged with a tracker app. He wasn't done, neither was I. That night, victory soured in the walk-up. Tequila flask half empty on the sill. Dad texted. Proud. But Jax called. Says you're framing him bigger. Feds incoming. Feds? My hack must have tripped wires. Jax, ever the schemer, had looped in his pills and ghosts, flipping them against me with promises of scraps. Paranoia coiled, shadows in the alley. A burner buzz on my disposable. I hit the streets, ducking into a Polish deli for Pyrgis and intel, old shop contacts whispering Jax was rallying evidence to pin the original fraud on me, claiming coercion. Confrontation brewed at Lena's loft in West Loop, gold toilet luxury mocking our grit. I buzzed up uninvited, rain-slicked and feral. She answered in silk robe, eyes red-rimmed. Nova? Jesus. The video, it's everywhere. Hashtag Ramirez Rumble trending. Jax inside, pacing like a caged wolf, spotting me through the glass. Get her out. But Lena barred him, queen in her castle.
Talk. Now.
We circled the kitchen island, marble-veined like lies, Jax spinning tales of my instability, post-jail rage. I countered with facts, bank trails, witness statements from the Greek owner who'd seen Jax's poker nights. He flipped again. Desperate charm. Baby. She's twisting it. We were in it together. Saving the shop. Lena's slap echoed. Ring catching his cheek, not drawing blood, but dignity. Together? You said she was the thief. Split sides incarnate. Jax begging. Me silent. Lena torn between love and ledger. I dropped the bomb. He used your firm's access to scrub records. Check your VPN logs. She froze. Dialing IT on speaker, confirmation beeping like a death knell. Jax lunged for the door, but I blocked. USB in hand. Run. And this hits the cloud. Every sin. Public domain. He paused. Rain-lashed windows framing his defeat. What do you want? Nova? Money? The shop. Vengeance's calculus. Demand justice. Or mercy. I chose controversy, controversial as forgiving the unforgivable. Confess. To Dad. Full truth. His laugh barked. And go down alone? Fuck that. We're blood.
Blood.
The word hung. Poisonous. As he shoved past, I whispered, then burn with it. He fled into the storm. Lena's sobs the soundtrack to my hollow win. But dawn brought the twist shadow. Dad's shop torched. Snitch scrawled an accelerant on the bay door. Arson. Jax's final flip, insurance scam to bury debts. Framing me as the grudge holder. Fire trucks wailed, acrid smoke curling like fingers.
Dad.
Watching from ambulance gurney, met my eyes, not shock.
But sorrow.
He said you'd do this. Prove him right. Kid. Silence shattered. Whose side now? The cop side me. Parole officer texting violations. Jax's scheme coiled tighter. Me as the madwoman. Him the survivor. Fugitive hours blurred, crashing with a mechanic aunt in Berwyn. Plotting counterstrike. Hack his phone?
Nah.
Too traceable. Infiltrate his alibi, the Pilsen crew. Lowlifes who'd flip for a better deal. I drove south, pulse thundering, into the underbelly where loyalties shift like Lake Michigan tides.
Met Rico.
The ghost leader, in a taqueria reeking of chorizo and regret. Jax stiffed us too, he grunted over tamales. Help burn him. We burn your slate. Alliance forged in grease and grudge. Controversial. Allying with criminals to catch one. Back north. Tension peaked. Jax holed up in a Gold Coast Airbnb. Lawyered and leaking stories to podcasters. Cousin's revenge. The Ramirez betrayal. Public split. Team Nova for the underdog grind. Team Jax for family unity over drama queens. I crashed the gate. Disguised in delivery scrubs. USB as prop. He answered buzzed. Eyes bloodshot. You again? Persistent psycho. Inside. Luxury mocked ruin. Skyline view. Half-packed bags. Endgame.
Jax. Confess.
Or Rico's crew visits. He laughed. Pouring bourbon neat. Rico? That puta? I flipped him weeks ago. Your prince on the fire's debris.
Lie or truth?
My stomach dropped. He'd anticipated. Planting evidence in my Impala's trunk during the sale chaos. Flip after flip. His maw swallowing light. But I saw the crack. Lena's voicemail on speaker. It's over. DA's looking at you. Desperation gleamed. What if we split it, run the shop together? Like old times. Dad's dying, he needs us. Temptation slithered, reunite. Forgive. American Redemption arc. But the darkness roared no. I hit record. Admit it. All of it. He did. Rambling litany, the skim, the frame, the fire. Victory? As sirens wailed distant. Cops tracing my plates. I bolted. Confession uploaded to a dead man switch. Post if I didn't check in. Jax's scream chased. Nova. Wait, we're the same. Same? In the rear view. Chicago swallowed us both. Monsters and mirrors. Sirens Dopplered closer as I gunned the Impala south on Lakeshore Drive. Windshield wipers slapping like a metronome to madness. The confession file pinging auto-upload to my encrypted drop. Jax's voice, raw, unraveling, would hit the net in 30. Viral venom for the Ramirez saga. But freedom? Fleeting as a summer without humidity. My phone lit up. Parole officer. Fuming texts about the fire trace. Rico's crew? Radio silence. Likely Jax's flip had bought them off with my name as bonus. Alone. Accelerating past Navy Piers, Ferris will glow. I weighed the scales. Expose him. But chain myself? Or vanish? Let the truth simmer without my pyre? Dawn broke gray over the lake. Humidity heavy as regret. I ditched the car in a Calumet Park lot. Weeds choking tires like old sins. And Uber to a Greyhound station in the Loop, faceless throng of runaways and reinvention seekers.
Ticket to St.
Louis clutched like a talisman. But Dad's number burned in my pocket. One call. Voicemail. Nova. It's bad. Jack's here. Spinning tales.
Cops want you.
Come clean.
Kid.
Before it's too late. Too late? For blood? For the girl who fixed engines to fix us? The bus wheezed west. Diesel fumes mingling with my sweat. Seats sagging under stories unspoken. Controversy churned in my gut. Was revenge justice?
Or just another scam.
Jax's flips, charm to venom. Ally to enemy. Mirrored mine. The covers I'd laid for love turning to traps. Readers, hell. If this leaked, the forums would blaze. Team Nova the betrayed badass. Or Team Jax the flawed survivor. No heroes. Just hustlers in a city that chews dreams and spits chrome.
Esti.
Lewis welcomed with arch gleam and anonymity. Crashing in a flop house off Del Mar. Walls thin as alibis. Days blurred. Dishwashing gigs for cash. Burner for news. The drop hit prime time. Chicago Sun-Times splash. Cousin confesses fraud in viral rant. Arson probe widens. Jax arrested at O'Hare. Bound for Cabo. Cuffs glinting on live feed. Lena testified. Logs damning. Rico flipped for immunity. Pills and ghosts scattering like roaches. Dad? Front page frail. Shop, a charred skeleton. But eyes in the photo, proud.
Pained.
He called the burner. How? Ants leak.
Probably. Nova.
Come home. Home. The word hooked deep. I boarded the return. Heart AV8 misfire. Arriving to a city scrubbed by autumn chill. Leaves crunching like brittle loyalties underfoot. The shop's lot was a vigil. Candles flickering against Justice for Ray signs. Neighbors in Carhartt jackets murmuring support. Dad waited in a folding chair. Chemo port hidden under flannel. Face gaunt but grinning faint. Knew you'd show. Inside the gutted bay. Smells of soot and solder. We sat on crates amid the wreckage. No tears. Just truth. Jax called from lockup. Said the confession was fake, deep fake. AI shit. Claims you framed him again. I barked a laugh. Deep fake?
Pop.
It's him. Every stutter. Every excuse. Dad nodded slow. I know. Played it for the DA. But he said something else. About your ma. The bomb dropped gentle, but detonated wild. Mom's OD? Fentanyl-laced pills from Jax's Dealer Connect. Back when he was 16 and experimenting. I'd covered that too. Swiped the stash post-funeral. Flushed it to bury the link. He told you. Dad's eyes glistened. Whispered it years ago. Begged silence. Thought it was kid shit. Accident. But you carried it alone. Guilt tsunami, my secrets.
His.
Layered like rust. For family, I whispered. He gripped my hand. Calluses rough as Lake Superior stone. Enough carrying. Nova. We're done with ghosts. But ghosts don't ghost easy. Jax's trial loomed. Cook County Circus. Packed gallery. Reporter sniffing scandal like fresh snow. I testified. Voice steady on the stand. Laying out the ledger lies. The humiliations. The flips that fractured us. Prosecutor grilled. You covered his crimes first. Hemis. Ramirez. Motive for revenge. Controversy crackled. Jury split. Social feeds ablaze. She enabled him, versus. He destroyed her. Jax. Orange jumpsuit sharp. Flipped one last time. Contrite tears. Nova's my sister in all but blood. I led her astray. Forgive us. Charm offensive. Painting us co-conspirators in tragedy's tango. Dad's testimony sealed the schism. Wheelchair-bound now. Voice a rasp over the mic. Jax was family. Nova is blood. Silence from the bench. Then verdict. Guilty. 15 years. Fraud and arson stacked like indictments. Cheers erupted, Team Nova trending national, but as marshals hauled him. Jax locked eyes. Not hate, but mirror. We could have run it together, he mouthed. Still can. Offer or threat. The darkness in me purred yes. The light. Rebuilt from ashes. Roared no. Post-trial haze. Dad's shop reborn as co-op. Mechanics pooling for the buy-in. My bay chief with grease under nails and purpose in veins. We scattered Mom's ashes proper. Gateway arched shadow. Wind off the Mississippi carrying her south. To new starts, Dad toasted, flask passed. But nights. The coil tightened. Anonymous emails from Jax's prison IP. Partners forever? Lena visited once. Belly swelling his kid. Irony's cruelest twist. He wants visitation rights. For the baby. Controversial crossroads. Deny the child his blood. Or taint it with ours. The final flip came Christmas Eve. Snow blanketing the city like absolution denied. Dad passed quiet in his sleep. Heart giving out mid-cub's rerun. Flask clutched like anchor. Funeral packed. South Side solidarity. Eulogies blending grit and grace. Jax petitioned from inside. Let me say goodbye. DA nixed it.
But I
went. Dan Ryan Max. Visiting room sterile as regret. Plexiglass between us like old wounds. Nova, he leaned in. Voice muffled. Dad gone?
Shit.
We fucked up. Fucked up. Understatement of the decade. You fucked us, I corrected. But soft, no venom left. Just ash. He nodded. Eyes hollowed.
Yeah. But.
The kid. Lena's dumping names on me. Ramirez or what? The twist landed. Debatable dagger. Name the spawn after our poison line. Honor the blood? Or sever? Let it rise clean? I pressed palm to glass. Call it Jax Jr. Let it choose later. Mercy? Masochism? Forums would feast. She forgave? Weak. Or redemption arc gold. As I left, snow swirling like confetti on the damned, Chicago's lights beckoned, flawed. Fierce. Family forged in fire. Revenge? It hollowed. But hollows fill. I drove the rebuilt Impala north. Radio crooning Springsteen. Tramps like us. Baby. We were born to run. Not away toward. The shop's neon hummed welcome. Co-op crew raising beers in the bay. Dad's ghost grinned from the office wall. Flask eternal. Was it happy? Tragic? You tell me. Blood's thicker than oil, but thinner than truth. And in America's underbelly. That's the only gospel that sticks.